just one together with the other. And here's something interesting, a drug tolerance buildup. I'm actually interested in that idea because these guys are a lot tougher than I am. Now, they can actually take a little bit of drugs, their body fights it, their body, take a little more, their body fights it more until they're able to take more drugs that'll kill an ordinary person like me, but they have no problem with it, and they actually want more because their body has already built up a certain tolerance. So in a way, they're like tougher than I am because I never took this stuff. So that's an interesting idea, that things that'll kill an ordinary person, they'll just take it in stride because they've built up a tolerance for it. So it's the same thing when it comes to impairment. If they built up a tolerance, they are not as impaired as other people who have not. So you have to find out what kind of the person is, how impaired they are, and you can't just use drug concentration. It's not so easy. Sometimes you can. I mean, sometimes the concentration is so high that nobody can withstand being impaired. So we know that. But what if it's something that's normal people will be impaired, but someone who's been taking the drug for years will not be impaired? Can we say they're impaired? We really don't know. You have other tests for it. Again, some tests will prove that they're definitely impaired. Nobody, no matter how tolerant how much tolerance you build up, that nobody can withstand this. That, again, we can find that. But again, lower levels, we need to know in some other way as well. Also, another difficulty is that we take it from the urine sample. The problem is that urine drugs build up in the urine as the body is trying to get rid of this drug. So it's going to put more and more into the urine. So it'll concentrate it into the urine. So you might get a certain, from a urine test, they might have a certain amount of drugs, but in reality that was never in their blood system at any time. It was concentrated in the urine. So you got to be aware of that. Nevertheless, urine is still a valuable thing, and it provides corroborating evidence to other signs of impairment or other drug tests, let's say from the blood. Also, estimations are used, and these are usually on target. But again, if you're a lawyer, you're going to try to fight with that. To find out more or less exactly, I mean, as well as we can, how impaired they are, what we use is a drug recognition expert, a DRE, a drug recognition expert. This is a person who can analyze the behavior of someone and tell how impaired they are, and even which drug they took. Not only what kind of drug, but which drug they took, which of the kinds of drugs they took. So these are drug recognition expert, and these people, they have certification. So what they do is they have a whole series of tests. They put the person through a series of tests, and by the way the person physically responds to it, they know whether it's a depressant, stimulant, hallucinogen. They can sometimes tell whether the difference between marijuana and cocaine, or let's say cocaine and crack. They can tell. They're experts. I mean, you hope, because they're experts, they can tell what the drug is. That's their job. So we can tell how impaired, whether they're impaired, how impaired they are, and even which drug they are. This is corroborating evidence, and it certainly works together with a blood test. So you can know exactly what the person did. So included in this test is like an interview, like, when did you eat last? What's your name? What do you work as? That's part of the interview. And if the person's like, if the person's brain is, is busy with, giant hairy dogs biting his eyeballs out because he's on drugs, this interview will show it. You ask him what his name, and he starts talking about, how his mouth feels like it's in an earthquake. Again, you'll know some things from the interview too. The general appearance, is he injured? Does he have some kind of handicap? Again, that's important information. Again, remember the nystagmus, that the eye jerks up and down when you look left and right? Again, they test for that. Balance on the end is also a little bit familiar from that other lecture. Tell them to walk 9 steps, feel the toe following the heel, and turn around. See if they can do that. See if they're too uncoordinated to do that. The one leg balance. Stand on one leg for 30 seconds. You check the blood pressure, the pulse, and temperature. Look at the pupil size. If it's dilated, like it's very, very, very large, again, this is a sign of drugs, often LSD or even marijuana. Check the muscle rigidity. That's, it could be tense or unusually weak. Incidentally, the pupil size and Woodstock, there was a serious problem with them. People took LSD at Woodstock and they collapsed. And they collapsed on their backs with their eyes wide open. And because the pupil size was wide, all the sunlight was constantly feeding into their optic nerve. More, it's like staring at the sun. How long can you do that? These people were conked out on LSD, and their eyesight got permanently damaged because of that. So drugs do make the pupils large, dilated. So again, you need some way to tell what kind of drug and how impaired the person is on the drugs. Also, they look for punctures for injection sites. Let's say they want to inject heroin into themselves. They take a look at that. They interview the subject whether they did take drugs, but if you ask them about doing something illegal, they are required to be read their Miranda rights. That's, that they don't have to incriminate themselves. This is part of the Fifth Amendment. They don't have to testify against themselves. They have to know that they do not have to testify against themselves if they don't want to. And if they do say it can legally be used in a court. Anyway, so if you ask them about whether they took drugs. So all these are done by the drug recognition expert. They give marks for all these kinds of things. Also included are breath tests, maybe blood and urine tests for toxicological examination. But for the drug recognition expert, they do just the physiological ones, the physical results of their physical tests. And they'll know how impaired the person is, which drugs are involved. Combined with the blood and urine tests, together, that is admissible in the court, and that is something that is used. So there's just a little. This is one sample of what kind of a questionnaire or of a form that the drug recognition expert what they use and what they fill out. Here, look. Are you sick or injured? They ask. When did you last sleep? That's part of the interview. Whatever it is, we name of the restaurant. Okay, that's whatever. Have you been drinking? When did you drink? Are you diabetic? And then we have some interesting things. Do they have glasses? Do they have that? Eyes? Are they red? Are they red? Are they bloodshot? Are they normal? Are they watery? That's something to know. Here. Notice this thing. Where is that? This little thing, you might not be able to see it. It says HGN. That's horizontal gaze nystagmus. That's this nystagmus test where they tell the eye to look and they see if it's jerking around, or where it jerks around, or which angle. Here's the one leg stand over here. And again, you can see here's like walking 10 steps, 9 steps one way and the other way, and turning around. Again, these are tests that the drug recognition expert would use to see what kind of drugs the person is on and how much and how impaired the person is. Okay, so a little bit of a review. As you know about the special difficulties of the forensic and toxicologist for drugs, there's trace amounts, collecting it with the body fluids, how to extract, the extraction scheme using acids and bases, screening tests, hair, poisons, how they are dealt with, the drug recognition expert also. Here are some homework problems for you to use to practice on.